Hey guys, it's Mel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I've actually got a video where I've pre-recorded an interview that I've done with my mentor, technsports. The thing about Tech is, although he owns a $5 million a year eBay business, what he teaches is relatable to the everyday Joe Blow like me. It doesn't matter if you're listing 10 things a day, 20 things a day, 30 things a day, or 250 things a day like he is. Everything that he teaches and he preaches is totally relatable to all resellers. Welcome Tech, thank you for joining me on my channel today. I wanted to do a little bit of an intro so anybody who's unfamiliar with you gets a little bit of an idea of who you are and what you're about. You are 38 years old, husband, father. You've been selling on eBay for about 15 years. You're now the #1 pre-owned men's clothing seller in the world. And on top of that, you're ranked in the top 500 overall eBay stores in the world. You have a brick and mortar store in the heart of Florida selling vintage and hype clothing. You wholesale to people all over the USA and Australia. You've taken the new Whatnot platform by storm, selling tens of thousands of dollars a week. And your Whatnot store has the most sold items than anyone else in that category. You're also the creator of the reseller ruler, which thousands of resellers are using worldwide to lay flat on their clothing items for their reselling product photos. You own a very successful tree and gardening business, a computer repair business, plus you own millions in real estate investments. You are a joint owner-operator of the reselling Patreon group with Chris from Daily Refinement that teaches everything that you have learned about selling on eBay, reselling in general. And in that group, you are literally changing lives by helping thousands of people to streamline and grow their own eBay stores, including myself. Is that right? Have I got it all?
I think that's pretty much everything. I do appreciate the kind words to start it off, but I'm just like everybody else, just a regular guy, just trying to do my best every single day, and hopefully, try to utilize eBay and reselling to multiply the money that we do put in, get more money out on the other side, and then diversify that money into other assets or into starting other businesses. That's pretty much the name of the game that I play. And, I use reselling as a vehicle, as a way to multiply the money, because there isn't many other ways to do it as safely and as fast as eBay has to offer. And I know in the United States, we're going through a tough time with the economy, and probably Australia is coming up on something similar. And I think it's going to be very difficult coming up. So I think that we all have to, put our mind, put our focus. We have to be disciplined. And if we are going to sell online, if we are going to sell on eBay, it's going to get more difficult coming up. So, now's the time, now's the opportunity to take what we have and try to make the best that we can.
So do you think it's going to get more difficult because we're going to get many more people who are struggling financially trying to come into the reselling game, and we're going to be competing against more resellers? Or do you think it's going to get harder because the thrift shops are getting more expensive, stock is going to be harder to source just because there's more and more people out there hunting for it, along with these thrift stores who are also trying to make more money for their own businesses now, and they're treating it a little bit more high-end business than what they used to, say, 10 years ago?
Those two, and in combination, just your everyday buyer is going to have, less money to go out and spend on the wants instead of the needs. So in the United States, the rents have gone up tremendously since a lot of real estate has traded since COVID ended. And, when people do buy real estate, they buy it as an investment. They have paid a premium on their investments. And in order to recoup their money, they have to raise the rent. So, where Chris lives, rents are up about 50%. Where I live, they're up 50%. People are getting squeezed. So now that people's pocketbook is getting squeezed, you have the thrift shops. They have to, recoup their costs. There's higher fuel. Labor is up. Processing is more expensive. Everything across the board is more expensive for them. And just like every other business, they're going to push those increases in costs onto the consumer. And we are the consumer of the thrift stores. So it is going to be challenging. And I think that the only way that we can come out of this successfully on the other side is to take the time to seek out the knowledge and kind of expand our Rolodex of the profitable brands in our area. And the worst thing that you could do as a reseller is pass on profitable inventory. So we all have to set up the metric inside of our business on what is a desirable return on investment, what margin we prefer, how fast we want our items to sell through. And that's up to all of us on an individual basis. So for me, my average cost of goods is $4. My average sale price on eBay is $25. That's my acceptable margin. That's where I want to be. And I want to turn my store over roughly 3 times per year. If you live in the middle of nowhere and have 100,000 square feet, maybe your turnover or your sell through doesn't have to be as aggressive as me. But, I'm in South Florida in the Miami area. It's very, very expensive here. So my warehouse has to just act as a place where inventory just hangs out for a minute and then goes on to the customer. It can't set up a house and it can't, live there forever. It has to go through the warehouse and it has to go on through the customer, because the more items that we all sell at the end of the day, the more money we're going to make. So, people are going to get stressed on how much they can spend on their discretionary income. The prices are going to go up at the thrift shop. And then you have those, second tier increases. Fuel goes up for us. Insurance goes up. Our rent is going to go up for storage, for warehouse. All of our increases, eBay fees are going to go up. They roll out promoted listings pay per click. So we're also getting squeezed by businesses. So all of this stuff that they're squeezing onto us, I think that the best way to absorb it is we have to grow our eBay businesses during this time. So that way, if something does increase, we can absorb it by having more sales.
I've noticed that what appears to be one of your biggest focus with sales is your sell-through rate. Is that something that's always been your focus, or is that something that you've kind of developed more over time? Like, did you used to sit on items for longer than you do now? Because it does seem like you're very aggressive now, moving your stock through at a faster rate.
So I would say probably for the first 7 or 8 years of me selling on eBay, I waited too long for too much money. If I had to start all over again, I would sell through my items much more quicker, because if you go on any sort of compounding calculator, the amount of times that you can turn over or roll over your money as fast as possible, the more money you will be able to make. So for the first half of my eBay career, I did probably wait a little bit too long for more of the money. And I was essentially in the storage business. So, I had a change of mentality of out of the storage business and into the selling business. And the eBay has now, in the last couple of years, given us the opportunity to look inside of these metrics, some of the metrics that they do keep. They've given us the traffic tab. They've given us the performance tab. They've given us all these tools where previously they didn't release any of this data. So, they are hitting us with a lot of data that we can get quite overwhelmed with. But the two biggest data points inside of my business every single day, forget the traffic tab, forget impressions, forget all of that. The two biggest pieces of data that I look at is number of items listed and number of items sold. Those two things are the most important to me, because number of items sold, let's say you list 10 per day and you sell 5 per day. Your store is always going to be net 5 items. That's going to be net, 35 items per week. And that's going to be net 150 items per month. So when my number one concern is storage capacity. Storage capacity will always be the biggest bottleneck inside of my business. Inventory is not the issue. Listing items is not the issue. Storage capacity is always going to be the number one issue for a lot of our businesses, whether you're working out of your home, whether you have a warehouse, whether you have a storage unit. We can't afford to have inventory that's sitting around, not getting sold, not getting that money back to us, and then not being able to redeploy that capital on two more like items. So storing inventory costs money. If you are doing it inside of a storage unit or a warehouse, it costs money to store inventory. So since it costs money to store inventory, the more items that you could pass through your warehouse or your storage unit, the more money you're going to make because it costs less per piece to store those items. So the two biggest things that I look for is number of items up, number of items out. If I focus on number of items out, the money will take care of itself.
Mm-hmm.
So once you do get to a point where you are making, quality listings, quality title, quality photos, priced at market or under market, you have a quality description, your item specifics are good, then you get to tweak the tools that eBay does give you, in the promotions tab. They have the markdown sale, they have coupons now, they have, order discount, they have buyer groups, they have newsletters, they have, offers to watchers. There's a lot of tools that you can do to speed up your sell through, but you can only take full advantage of those when your listings are fully optimized, because you could use all the tools in the world, but if a buyer cannot find your item, then it really doesn't matter what sort of incentives that you're offering to entice a buyer to purchase your item.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those are the two most important things to a listing would be the title and the quality of the photos. Do you think?
I think it's going to be price is going to be number one, and it's going to be desirability of the item.
Right.
So if you have a Louis Vuitton purse, you don't need a great title. You could literally write Louis Vuitton purse, and if it's under market, it will sell.
Mm-hmm.
If you have something that's not desirable, now you need to become an expert on how to sell that item. Anybody can sell a Louis Vuitton purse under market. It takes no expertise to do so. But once you start getting into these items that maybe will sell through once every 90 days, once every 6 months, that's when you really have to know the keywords. That's when you really have to know your customer. You really have to know price points. You really have to know all the nuances on why somebody would purchase this individual item. And then from there, you have to know what you should promote this item at. Maybe it needs a markdown. Maybe it needs a more aggressive coupon. Maybe my return policy needs to be better. So, fortunately for all of us, we have our work cut out for us because we're not all selling Louis Vuitton under market. So since we're not all selling Louis Vuitton under market, we have to take the initiative and really learn why certain brands sell, why certain things inside of certain brands sell. And once why certain things sell for the reasons they sell for, that's when you gain an expertise. There's brands that are no good, but there's certain things inside of brands that do make them good. And if you know those things, you can put the keywords in accordingly because you know who your buyer is that's searching for those items. And if you have the appropriate keywords, and if you know who's searching for the item, and you know what price point to put it at so you can have the desirable sell through that you want, then you don't really have an issue. But if you don't know how to do that stuff, more often than not, you end up with a lot of bloat inside of your store. And bloat inside of your store can become crippling because that's money that you've invested into items that are not moving, not selling, not going out and getting you a 2 or 3x return where you can go and redeploy that capital and buy 2 or 3 more items and grow your store, grow your business.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's so important, especially like you're using the very high end purse as the example, whereas like most of us are selling those bread and butter basic items where we're competing with the masses, aren't we? And we have to be able to make our listing stand out from the crowd and be up the top, because there could be 50 pages of the same book that I'm selling, Jamie Oliver or something, for example. I could be 50 pages, and I don't want to be the seller that's on page 50. I need to be that seller that's on page 1. So I need to make sure that I've got all those things right to give myself that best opportunity to be ranked up high on that first page or two to hopefully get that sale.
Totally. And, something that not a lot of people do is, if you go into Terapeak, you could do, in-depth research on individual book titles like you referred to. But if you go down to that graph and you press that arrow button to the right, it will tell you literally how many copies of that book sell per day. And let's say there's 12 all across eBay in the entire world. When you get that offer coming in on something that might be a slower seller and only 12 are going to sell on the platform for the whole day, you should drop to your knees and thank your lucky stars that someone took the time to send you an offer. And if you are profitable on that offer that you received, You accept the offer, you go out and you buy two more. But
Mm,
when only 12 sell on the entire platform, maybe you don't get the opportunity to counter back and make $2 extra or $3 extra. Maybe if only 12 sell on the entire platform, you accept the offer because it's profitable and you can find that same exact book on the shelf on any thrift store in your country. And if that item is replaceable and there is no shortage of those bread and butter items, then in my opinion, you should accept every single profitable offer that comes your direction. If
mm,
it is something that is more rare, more highly desirable, then of course that's not, that's not a blanket statement for everything. But if it's a regular bread and butter item that you could walk into any thrift store in any city or any town and replace it, go on to the eBay sales calculators that they have on the internet, plug in your metrics on what your average cost is, what your shipping is, and figure out what your break even point is. If you have, let's say, a $5 average cost of goods, and I'm just throwing it out there, and if your break even is $8.27, now you know any offer I get above $8.27 is technically profitable. So am I saying take every offer of 8.27 and up? No, you need to figure out, where am I okay? Where if an offer comes in, it's an automatically acceptable offer if this item is replaceable in any thrift store in your city or in your town. So you go ahead and you look at the math and you say, okay, any offer that comes in at 12.50 or higher, I'm going to double my money after fees. If
mm.
you're okay with doubling your money after fees, then any offer that comes in at 12.50 or higher, if this item is not rare and is replaceable in any thrift store, that's an automatic accept. So you went out and bought one item, you have the money for two more, you take that money, you go buy two more, and you do it again. And then you get four, then you get eight, then 16, 32, so on and so forth.
Yeah, which is so much better than your item just sitting here on the shelf for so much
Absolutely.
longer. Because I think there's a lot of resellers that have some kind of emotional attachment to their items. They buy it and they think it's worth a certain amount of money, or it might even have the price sticker on it. So they think, oh, but my item is actually worth $49, but they fail to kind of realize that an item is only worth what somebody is willing to pay for it.
Absolutely. And if you go in there and you do take the time to do your math on the eBay sales calculator, it takes all the emotion out of it. You know, if this item is replaceable, if it hits X amount of dollars on the offer, it's an automatic accept.
Mm. So you kind of take all the emotion out of your business, don't you? Like it's very black and white. There's no real gray in between. Like you're not worried if somebody sends you a lowball offer. Like a lot of people get upset about that if somebody sends them an offer for $1 or two and they get really emotional about that. Whereas you just counter it back or you accept it. You don't decline it or anything.
Nope. Counter back. I'll counter back people all day. And, when someone does send you an offer, again, like I said, there's millions of items on eBay. We should be, so thankful and so lucky that someone took the time to send us an offer for $1.
Mhm.
You counter back, take $1 off your price, you take a couple dollars off your price, and you go back and forth. And maybe, just maybe, you reach an agreeable deal where everyone is happy and you made the sale. But that's not always the case. But just because someone does send you a lowball offer, eBay looks at offers as activity on your listings and as a positive thing for your listing. So if you do receive an offer that does give your listing a bump in the search rank, if you counter that back and they counter you back, that's another bump in the search rank. So, any and all positive activity on your listings is a net positive at the end of the day. So I welcome any and all offers. $1, send it my way. I'll counter because that is, your opportunity to close the sale. And if someone is interested in your item and you respond quickly, that is an opportunity to make the sale. If you respond tomorrow or if you respond in 6 hours, that buyer most likely has purchased it from somebody else. So the faster you could be on the responses to your messages, the faster you could be on the responses to your offer, the higher your conversion rate is going to be and the more sales you're going to have, because you're going to be able to convert those customers who are right there ready to give you your money rather than get to them when you can in 4 or 5 hours, and they've probably purchased from someone else or put down their phone or decided that they don't really need this item anymore.
Yeah, I kind of feel like those people, the people that you respond to straight away who send you an offer, they're the ones who kind of pay straight away. And the ones that you have maybe taken a few hours to respond to, they're the ones that sometimes go unpaid and you're left with these unpaid items. And like you said, it's probably because they've gone on and found somebody else who has responded faster to them. They might have sent the same counter offer or same offer to multiple sellers, and whoever's got back to them first is who they've purchased from.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, if you respond hours later, maybe they don't get on eBay every single day. They're not like we are. We live and breathe on eBay. Maybe if you respond to them in 4 hours, they might not check their eBay account for 4 days, and then they find out, oh, I won this item 4 days ago, and then they pay in 4 days. So, if you have somebody at the cash register sending you an offer and you respond quickly to them, usually, as you said, they end up paying rather quickly. So, eBay is rolling out new programs where buyers are going to have to pay when their offer is accepted. That's being rolled out here in the States. And for me, I actually have turned that program off because I get a lot of repeat business from buyers in Australia and in New Zealand. And I have a lot of buyers in Australia that shop my store every single day. They like the vintage stuff down there. And I let them pay at the end of the month. So I actually turned that program off because when I accepted their offers, it was charging them multiple times for shipping. But if you are the type of person that does want to get paid immediately when an offer is accepted, at least in the United States, they are requiring them to pay immediately when an offer is accepted. So that's good news, and that should help out with the unpaid item cases.
Absolutely. I don't know if we've got that here, but I did see somebody post in one of the Facebook groups recently. It was rolling out, and they'd had their first, sale where it's come through and shown it.
Mhm.
So, how did you actually get started into reselling or selling on eBay? Like, what actually influenced you into pursuing like this kind of opportunity?
So I had so my computer repair company. If a customer would break their computer, let's say they dropped it, and we're talking 15 years ago when computers were much more expensive. Nowadays, if they break, you just throw them in the garbage and buy a new one. But let's say a customer dropped their computer and the LCD would break. Um, Back then, it was more cost effective to buy a new computer and just migrate the data over from the old computer. So what we would do is we would offer them a discount on the data migration service in exchange for them giving us their broken laptop. So I would take the broken laptop and I would sell it on eBay. And, with a bad LCD, people would still buy a Sony Vaio for parts and they would repair it and they would fix it. So that was how I first started selling on eBay. But when I got serious selling on eBay is when I was in the market for a new phone. So I went on to Craigslist and I bought a phone, and I was looking at comps whether it would be better to buy a phone on eBay or buy a phone on Craigslist. So I found one on Craigslist for $35 because on eBay they were selling for 75. And I bought the phone for 35 and I saw the discrepancy between prices. So I listed it on eBay. It sold for $75 within a couple of hours. So I went back on Craigslist and people locally were selling them for $30 or $40. And on eBay, they were selling for $75. So I started buying that particular phone and I would just immediately turn around and sell it on eBay. So that's the tech part of my eBay. Um, and then one day I had a lot of clothes that I had from my high school days, and I put up a football jersey. It was a Andre Reed Buffalo Bills jersey made by Champion, and I sold it for $60 the same day. Um, and that jersey was really nothing special, but it sold for $60 in one day. So my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, had the bright idea of let's go to the thrift stores and see if they have jerseys. So we go to the thrift stores. Of course they did. And back then they were $2 and $3.
Mhm.
So when I first got started on eBay, I was selling a lot of electronics from the computer business, and then I was selling football jerseys and sports jerseys from the thrift, and that's how my name came to be about. So it was tech and sports. It was the computer, the broken stuff. We would do computers, iPads, phones, iPods, every kind of electronic that we would fix. We would take in the broken ones and give them a deal. And then I was going out to the thrifts looking for football and sports jerseys. And then those two things came together and I would sell them on eBay. And that's pretty much how I got my start.
And so you really just got that thrill of the hunt then for those sports jerseys. Like it became like you got the bug. Like you just absolutely loved it.
It, it's not so much the hunt, it's just like what an unbelievable opportunity is that you can find stuff locally for cheap and then sell it to a worldwide audience for more money. Like it
Right.
totally blew my mind and still blows my mind to this day that you could go to a garage sale and you can find stuff for $1. And we've all done this. You
Mm-hmm.
can find stuff for $1, put it on eBay, and it'll sell for $100.
Mm-hmm.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
Like, forget the hunt. Just how ridiculous of a cheat code is it where we can find stuff undervalue if we take time to seek the knowledge and we can put it on eBay and turn $5 into $20 on a very, very routinely basis. And to me, that's the most incredible thing in the world.
Yep. And that still excites you even to this day.
Absolutely. That is
Yeah.
the most it's the most exciting thing, the most craziest thing that, someone like me, I don't have a college education. I'm not a doctor. I have no special skills outside of just taking the time to seek the knowledge and showing up to eBay every single day and be disciplined enough to hit my listing goal. And every single time that I've listed items, that I've grew my store, that I put the time and the effort into eBay, every single time they have rewarded me. And there have been times where I said, you know what, I'm going to grow my business. And, during that growth stage, things can get a little bit tight because you are, let's say expanding from a storage unit to a warehouse. So you've incurred that cost. You've incurred costs of maybe, buying more inventory. But as long as I stayed the course and I stayed consistent and disciplined with eBay, eBay has always, always, always rewarded me. And they continue to reward me to this day.
Amazing, isn't it? So when did you really start to like streamline and focus in on the, less categories and niche down more into the men's clothing?
The timeline is a little bit fuzzy because I never thought in a million years I would be sitting here on YouTube interview style about my eBay business, but here we are. And, the same thing goes on with Chris. So the timeline is a little bit fuzzy, but I want to say, like, since the beginning, I've been doing clothes, but, I used to go to the flea market very heavily. So, like, if they had a baseball glove or a baseball bat, or if they had video games, or if they had this, I would pick it up. But,
Mhm.
eventually you get to that point where, building a box or finding a box or ordering a cord or 24/7 customer service on a Nintendo Entertainment System original from 1986 that the customers had for 4 months and they still expect you to do customer support, that just gets old. And, there is no user manual, there is no customer support for shirts. Everyone knows how to operate a shirt. It's much less customer service. It's they don't break in the mail. There is really, much less that goes into clothes rather than electronics. So, everyone has to try everything. And once you figure out the items that you don't want to sell, then you can go ahead and settle on your niche. So, I've always had great success with selling clothing. In my location, clothing is in a huge abundance. It's very cheap, highly discarded. Nobody cares about it. And, if you do have that knowledge of what is valuable versus what is not, and you can sift through and, take the good stuff and leave the bad stuff, and there's no testing, there's no ordering parts, there's no customer service, and you can get it in abundance and you can list it very quickly. That's what led me to really, double down on clothing. So, my entire business, the photo setup is built around clothing, the storage setup is built around clothing, everything that we do is built around clothing. And, when I did finally go 100% into clothes and, streamline the entire business to do so, that is really when my business exploded, and my sales exploded, and I ended up making a pretty good living for myself, by actually niching down into clothes.
Yeah, because I think what happens is once you start streamlining like that, all your process becomes so much faster, which means you're actually able to list more items a day when you're doing everything that's in the same system. Like it's different when
Hmm.
you're listing going from your baseball bat to your baseball glove to your item of clothing to your Sony PlayStation or whatever it is. There's so many different things that you have to ship and ways that you have to ship, and it definitely slows you down, I think. So when you're a one-man operation like you were for a very long time, to make that more money, you have to be able to list more items, don't you? Like that's the only real way to make more money is to list more items.
Absolutely. And, a lot of people, never get to that conclusion. A lot of people never get to the understanding that in order to make more items, you have to sell more items. And in order to sell more items, you have to list more items. So, for over 10 years, every single day, Monday through Friday, 365 days a year, Thanksgiving, Christmas, it didn't matter. There was well over 100 items going into the eBay store, hell or high water. And, as a result of doing that, you know, I've been fortunate enough and lucky enough to build something that that I could be proud of by staying disciplined, and just showing up every single day, putting in the time, putting in the effort. And as I said earlier, eBay has always rewarded me for putting in that time and putting in that effort.
Mm. So what would your advice be to those people who don't like the thought of niching down? Like they really love that everything kind of store. Do you think that's going to hinder them in the long run? Do you think that's a mindset shift that they should consider changing? Like what would your advice be to those people?
So, to have an everything store when you're just starting out, like everyone has an everything store, you have to figure out what you don't want to sell. The second part of people that have everything stores are maybe people who work full time, maybe people who have kids, maybe people who have a lot of obligations, and they don't have enough time to dedicate to sourcing. Maybe they can only go out on the weekends, or maybe they can only go to the flea market or only hit garage sales. So for them, they have to find the most profitable items for the time that they are outsourcing. But once you do get over that hump and you do make the transition into going full time, you could build any kind of business you want to build. And you have my blessing, and hats off to you if you want to be a gigantic everything store. But trust me, you will have a much easier life if you choose to niche down, because then you can make everything the same. So my photo process is the same for every article of clothing. There is no, changing. There is no setup. There is no breakdown. My storage situation is the same for every piece of clothing. There is no, these things are over here, but if it's like this, then it's that. If it's like that, then it's like this. The shipping is the same way. We ship two ways. Everything is in a poly bag, or everything is in a priority padded flat rate. Everything becomes the same. And when everything becomes the same, once you scale out your business to a certain point, then it's much, much easier to hire help. But if you have a lot of complications inside of your business, that's very, very difficult to hire help and very difficult to expand. And the help that you have to hire most times is expensive help, because they have to be an expert in a broad range of fields. So if you are paying for expertise in a broad range of fields, you are paying for that expertise. If your processes are streamlined, so my shipping process, for example, everything is shipped in a poly bag first class, or everything is shipped in a padded flat rate, your jackets, your sweaters, and your vests, things like that. It doesn't take a long time to train somebody to learn how to ship here. But if we ship VCRs, video games, sombreros, hats, shirts, shoes, everything, that takes expertise, that takes time, because it's not a repeatable process. It requires a lot of thinking, a lot of complexity, and a lot of problem solving. That takes money. So, if you've owned a business, the biggest expense that you can have is taking the time to train somebody and then that person leaving in 2 or 3 months, because then you have to start all over again. You have to retrain somebody. So if you have a very complex business, no matter what process we're referring to, and you take the time to train somebody for 6 weeks, and then after 6 weeks, for one reason or another, it doesn't work out, now you have to take another 6 weeks. Inside of my business, on the first day, they know how to ship. On the
Mm.
first day, they walk in here, and because our photography and our listing process is so streamlined, the first day they list 100 items start to finish. But if I had to teach them video game, VCR, sombreros, shoes, they're not going to come near 100 listings on the first day. And that's somebody that probably has a higher rate of turnover just due to the complexity and the brain power of what kind of business that actually is.
Mm. And also by niching, then you're able to simplify your inventory system as well, aren't you? You don't need to store everything in 10 different types of ways. Everything just becomes more streamlined. And even sourcing, like since
Right.
I've moved to just doing books, my time is cut so much in half by when I'm out there sourcing now, because I don't have to go and look around the whole thrift store now. I only have to go to the book section. So I can get in there and out fast and onto the next store without having to spend like 2 hours going through every single rack, every single shoe rack, going through the breakables, going through the books, the media, everything. So everything in business starts becoming time saving, and at the end of the day we all want more time to be able to do the fun stuff in life, I guess.
Right. So when you do niche down, like for you for books, then you can learn the entire supply chain. So, you could go to thrift store for books. You can do liquidation books. You can have pallet books. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can acquire books. For clothing, I get inventory every direction that it comes. I get inventory, on the front end of the supply chain. I get inventory at the thrift. I get inventory at flea markets, garage sales. I even get inventory all the way to the point where it's the final destination for clothing. And if I don't get it, it will literally get cut up into pieces and used as rags. So, once you do niche down, then you have the opportunity to figure out the supply chain, figure out how to get things the cheapest, the easiest, and the most abundant. But that's very difficult to do for the everything seller. You can't figure out the supply chain or the end of life for the everything seller. And that person is going to have to spend more time, on the road, in and out of stores, hitting more garage sales. And ultimately, by doing that, you spend less time with your butt in the chair actually listing items on eBay, which actually makes you money. You make no money driving around to thrift stores trying to find items. You only make money sitting in front of a computer listing those items on eBay.
Mm. And so I know your store's at a level now where you've got staff working for you, but I also know that you worked really, really hard as a solo operation for a long time. So how long were you working solo? Like how many listings were you doing a day, and how long were you working solo before you decided that you needed help?
So again, the timeline is fuzzy because I never in a million years thought I'd be having this conversation. But a little bit prior to COVID, I brought my wife's sister on to help pack. Previous to bringing her on, I was doing 120 listings every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, all by myself. And I did that for many, many, many years. Probably, you know, the good part of a decade was 120 listings every single day by myself. I brought my wife's sister on to help pack because I was selling so many items that packing was becoming a burden. And, it was making my day very difficult with going out and finding that many items by having such an aggressive listing goal and then still having the time to photograph and list those. So, she alleviated some of that stress of having to find 120 items a day and then still listing them and taking the pictures of them. And then, she wanted more hours. So I brought her on to help me take photos and help me list for a couple hours of the day after she had finished packing. So from there, we went to 160 items per day. And then I hired one more person because the warehouse directly next to mine became available, and my warehouse space essentially doubled overnight. So it went from around 3,000 square feet to 6,000 square feet. And, being, the bright idea person that I am, I said, my warehouse doubled, so the listing goal must double. So we went from, around 120 a day when I was in my 3,000 foot warehouse to 250 items per day now that I had 6,000 square feet. And I brought on somebody else to help that. So it was me, my wife's sister for a couple of hours after she packed, and then one person full time who took photos and listed. So now I have about 10,000 square feet, three people to do the photos and the listing, and two people to do the shipping. And currently at this time, through all avenues, selling between 600 and 700 items per day, 250 items being listed every single day, 7 days a week.
Wow. So is your two people who are doing the shipping, are they just shipping for the eBay store, or is that also including all the whatnot sales that you're getting now on the whatnot platform?
All right. So the shippers at the warehouse, they pick everything, they pack everything, and they also put away the previous day's stock that we listed. So they do the put away, the picking, and the packing. For the whatnot runs through my brick and mortar store. I have a guy set up in the back room. He runs whatnot 7 days a week, 7 hours a day. We have someone running whatnot 7 days a week, 7 hours a day. Um, the guy in the front who runs the cash register and puts out new stock for the store, um, when there's no one in the store, when he's done putting out the stock, he's the one that actually prints the whatnot orders. So
Mm.
I got those guys working pretty good over there. But we sell about 200 items a day on whatnot. In the back room, I have someone who works 7 hours on the live stream. And then the guy in the front who does the cash register, he packs the 200 the following day. So um, I think altogether we are at about 25 hours a day just picking, packing, and putting away.
Wow. So the whatnot really is quite a separate operation. It's more with your brick and mortar store. It's kind of the stock is on the different location, like it's two quite separately run businesses, but both doing the same kind of thing, reselling just in different ways.
Yeah, so the way that we utilize whatnot is really just guaranteed liquidation. So for the brick and mortar store, I kind of used to let the stuff sit there for a little while, and there was really no huge urgency to sell through the stuff. As long as there was cool stuff there, I was happy. But now since whatnot started, I've increased my buying for the store, and I kind of let stuff sit for about 2 weeks, and then we just go through the store, we grab everything, we throw it on whatnot, and we refresh the store every 2 weeks, which has worked out pretty well. And as I said a few times earlier, the more items I sell, the more money I make. So instead of those items just sitting on the store rack not being sold, they are being sold every 2 weeks. My entire store turns over, and those items go into the back room. They get sold on whatnot. They go out the back door, and that's more money coming into my pocket that I could redeploy elsewhere. If I see fit, if I want to start a new business, I have the capital. If I want to buy a piece of real estate, I have the capital, but I don't have the capital coming in. There is no cash flow when your item is sitting on a rack in a store or sitting on a rack at your warehouse.
Hmm. And so your brick and mortar store doesn't sell any new items, does it? It's all secondhand.
Yeah, it's all secondhand. It's a lot of vintage stuff, a lot of hype stuff. So stuff like Supreme or like vintage sports shirts or the single stitch stuff like that. But no, nothing brand new. And the reason why I started the brick and mortar store was a little bit before COVID, when I did increase the listing goal, when my warehouse capacity doubled. I had no problem getting 120 items every single day through the thrift store or the flea market. I have a great flea market around here locally. But when I jumped up to 250 items per day, I needed help sourcing. So I started branching out and making relationships locally with, people who do go to the thrifts or do go to the flea markets or do go to the bins. They do go to these other areas where clothing is in bulk. And now, I enlisted the help of them. So, you know, I haven't been sourcing since COVID. So going on what, almost 3 years, I have not stepped foot in a thrift store or at the flea market because, I've developed this team that scours about and they go and they find the very best items and then they bring it over to me. So the brick and mortar store came about because You can find a very cool single stitch motorcycle shirt, great graphics, front and back, but it's very hard to match up in the eBay search unless somebody searches very cool motorcycle shirt, single stitch, front and back. And
Mhm.
nobody is going to do that. But everyone will search for Harley Davidson shirt.
Mhm.
So I started getting this stock of like very cool shirts, but they weren't eBayable.
Mhm.
So a very cool shirt on a rack, someone will buy it and they'll be excited and they'll think it's great. But a very cool shirt that no one can find in the algorithm is just something that's too difficult to sell. So, all those very cool shirts that were not eBayable, I opened up the brick and mortar store and that's where those items get sold. So, that's how the brick and mortar store came about. And also, we have all the local teams. We have the Dolphins, the Marlins, the Panthers, the Miami Heat, and there is a big following for those teams locally, but not such a big following for those teams on eBay once you factor in how saturated those teams really are. So, just between selling the local sports teams and selling those really cool shirts that are not eBayable, the store does really great. And the alternative with that for that would be have all these really cool shirts that I can't match up in the algorithm and are just sitting there not getting sold.
Mm. So, did you always understand business? Like, how much of this did you have to teach yourself, or how much of it was instinctive?
Everything. When I started this almost 15 years ago, I had a son who was very young, 3 years old. He's 19 now. Um, there was there wasn't even any cell phones to bring to the thrift store.
Mm.
We've come a long way in this last 10 years or so. There was no YouTube, there was no groups, there was no Instagram, there was none of that. It was just, the old fashioned way of buying something, it sells, you buy it again, it's sold again, you buy it one more time and it sells again. And you say, okay, I'm buying this thing every single time that I see it. That's really how I started doing eBay. And once you do eBay for a long enough time, and you've listed the amount of items that I've listed, probably coming up on 500,000 items that I have personally listed with my two hands, like you kind of get a good understanding of how eBay works. And all the things that I've been doing for the longest time and all the things that we talk about in the group are things that I've been doing that now eBay has come out with these metrics and this data, performance tab, listing quality report, all these things. And I've had to make no changes because I've been running my business essentially the way how eBay wanted to run it, even before they released all of this documentation and all of these data points that they now provide. So, it's just taking the time to learn the platform, learn how to list an item, learn what's important, learn those profitable brands. And the most important part is learn who your customer is. I list items every single day that when I see them, I already know someone in Australia is going to buy them, and I already know the exact person who's going to buy them. That's how
Mm.
well that I know the customer. I know when I list them, a guy in your country who sells in your country will buy that item, and he knows what time I finish listing every single day, and he sends me 10 or 15 offers every single day. I know exactly who the customer is and exactly where every single item is going to be sold to and who it's going to be sold to.
I think that's so important, knowing who your customer is, because once you know who your buyers are and your customers are, and you've put more of that in your shop, that also entices multiple sales, doesn't it?
Yep,
Like if
absolutely.
you know your customer, you know that they like to wear a certain type of t-shirt or polo shirt,
Yep,
they're going to shop your shop and buy multiple if you've got multiple on offer for them.
absolutely. And the inverse of that is my brick and mortar store is catered to the younger crowd. Why would I put a Tommy Bahama button up shirt in there? That's
Hmm.
something their dad would wear.
Yeah.
So you have to know your customer. If I stock my brick and mortar store with a bunch of Tommy Bahamas that a middle-aged man would wear, they would look at it and it would never sell.
Hmm.
So you have to know who your customer is. And, by stocking the same brands, the same items, the same prices over and over again, it will entice repeat purchases. And now eBay does give us the opportunity to reach out to communicate with our previous buyers through buyer groups sending out that mass coupon through the newsletter. They give us an option to make our storefront look nice. They actually give us the opportunity to communicate with them and then offer them incentives to come back to the store. So, a large portion of the buyers that buy from me are repeat buyers. And, the great thing about repeat buyers is, they haven't given you an issue up until this point. So they're going to be a good transaction. And if someone has bought from you 5, 10, 15 times, that's an automatic sale. You are obviously doing something right to please this customer. They're low stress, they're low time. And the inverse of that is, if you screw up one time, it doesn't matter if it's a repeat customer or a brand new customer, you have potentially lost that customer. So it's of the utmost importance to take care of all of your customers, especially your repeat customers, because that's the foundation of your business. So on any given day, I already know before the day even starts, I'm going to sell 20 or 30 items to Australia. I'm going to sell some to Japan, and I'm going to sell probably 20 or 30 or 40 items to customers that I have previously sold to in the past. And those customers are going to buy 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, sometimes 50 items from you because you have exactly what you're looking for. And every single time they log on to eBay, they know they can come to you because you keep stocking the same items over and over again at a good price that they like. So, if you have the everything store, it's very difficult to get a repeat buyer when they bought a toaster from you and now you want them to come back and buy, a CD. That's very difficult to have a repeat buyer. But if you're listing the same items over and over again, those repeat buyers are going to come back.
Yeah, and it also makes doing makes the listing faster, doesn't it? Because you can just do the sell similar off your own item, and some of the time you don't even need to price comp that item because you already know what it sells. You know that a standard Tommy Bahama t-shirt sells for, I don't know, $20 to $25. So you automatically know to price that. You don't have to waste time going in, price comping, looking it up. How much is this worth? It becomes a much faster listing into your store, meaning, again, more listings can get done in the time.
Absolutely. So you can start to develop those price buckets. So, like you said, if a Tommy Bahama shirt sells for $22 to $25, you price it at $29.99, you run a 20% off coupon. Most often than not, the customer is not even going to send an offer and they're going to buy it outright. If they do send an offer, this item sells for $22 and up. If they offer you, $8, you counter them back. You try to get them to as close as 22 as you can. And if you are in the profit, is if it is an item that you can walk into any thrift store and replace, you take the money and run.
Mm-hmm. And so when you say that, if it's not, let's say you find something really rare, it's not something you find every day in the thrift shop. Those are the items that you should hold back a little bit on price wise, and try and reach for that little bit of extra money.
It depends. It's
Mm-hmm.
totally up to you. So, I have very expensive shirts that are worth $2,000. If somebody sent me an offer for $800, I would sell that shirt today.
Yeah.
I have no emotional attachment to these items. And, with $800, I can go back out and I can buy, 50, 100, 200 more items that I can sell again for an average sale price of $25 and turn that 800 into tens of thousands of dollars before it compounds on the second level. So, you could have the best stuff, but unless you're willing to sell the best stuff and, sometimes give a deal, because there are more buyers for the everyday value than there is for the best stuff. At my brick and mortar store, we have all the best stuff hanging by the top of the roof. I might sell a couple pieces out of there from the top every single week. It's very expensive and not a lot of people have that kind of money, but I'll sell thousands of pieces from the racks because that's the everyday customer. And there's more people in the everyday customer price point than there is in, the high end, the top of the line price point. And that's for the brick and mortar store. That's on eBay. That's in all of our businesses. So, unless your business caters and is a specialty for the highest end customer, if the offer is anywhere in the ballpark, take the offer, redeploy that capital, and buy 100 more items that you could sell for $25 average sale price, and just keep rolling that snowball as fast and as long as you can.
Mm. So I know that you're very system orientated. So not only in your business, but also like your personal life seems very systemized. Why do you think creating systems in a reselling business is so important?
You know, if you have no systems, essentially every single day is your first day. And, there's a lot of people who resell who have 1 day experience 365 times.
Mm.
I know tomorrow at 9:21 a.m., I know exactly what I'm going to do. I know tomorrow at 3:13 p.m., I know exactly what I'm going to be doing because I have the systems in place and it's a stable, area. It's a stable workplace, which is great for me. And it's also great for the employees. The employees also know tomorrow at 9:13 a.m., they know exactly what they're going to do. When you have stability, people have trust. And if you have no stability as an employee, you have no trust in your employer. So, having systems in place, having processes where nothing deviates, nothing ever changes is a low stress environment and an environment that you know, is going to be a successful environment because there is no changes, there's no curveballs, there's no hiccups. But in the times where there is a curveball, everybody knows what to do to get us back on track because they know the system, they know exactly what we're supposed to be doing. So at the warehouse, it's down to the point where the items get placed in the same exact place because if they're out of place, nobody knows what these items are. Are these items that are coming? Are these items that are going? Are these items need to get put away? Do they need to get shipped out? What are these items? So inside of the shipping facility, if an item is in a certain place, everybody knows that's about to get shipped. If an item is in a different place, everyone knows that needs to get put away. But if the put away is in the ship part, it would totally throw off the balance of everything we have going, and it would break the entire system. Just something that minute and that insignificant of having things in the wrong place can derail the entire ship. So having those systems in place, when they do get 1 inch out of whack, you need to nip it and you need to put it back to the correct place because that 1 inch does compound. And as the saying goes, you give someone an inch, they take a mile. So, when things do start to deviate, you have to be right there and get it right back on track. Otherwise you can have some serious problems once it does compound over the course of a week or a month or a couple of months. You could have huge problems on your hand.
And I think like having the systems as well, it really helps towards your goals and your long-term goals, doesn't it? Because when you have goals, you're kind of setting the direction for what you want to achieve, but your system is there. Like that's going to help you make the progress to actually hit the goal, isn't it? I think some people set their goals, but then they don't have the systems in place to actually reach those goals. And I think the only way you can reach a goal is by having strong systems in place.
Yeah, I agree with that totally. So, if you want to list 50 items a day and you don't have the systems or the processes in place to do it, there's really no way in the world that you can do it. Maybe you can, pull it all together and struggle and, somehow, some way get it done one time, but that's not repeatable. And if it's
Mm,
not repeatable, then again, tomorrow's your first day. You have to again, struggle, jump through a bunch of hoops, and hopefully try to hit that 50 a day listing goal. But if you have a much less aggressive listing goal, people feel that maybe systems aren't as important because, if you're going to list 5 a day, you literally have all day to do it. You have 24 hours to do it. And,
mm,
if you have 24 hours to do a task, you will take 24 hours to do that task. But,
mm,
if somebody said, if you don't list these 5 items within an hour, otherwise your eBay account will be permanently banned, you better believe they'll get those listings up within the
mm.
hour to save
Yeah.
their eBay account. So, something that's funny, like if eBay released a memo that said, hey, we are going to close ebay.com at the end of the month. That's it. You know how many listings would go on eBay by the time the end of the month is over?
Mm,
But people feel like they have all the time in the world, and this opportunity that's given to us is not, a special opportunity at this point in time where eBay's not going to close at the end of the month, so there is no urgency to get anything done. eBay's still going to be there; it'll be okay. But this opportunity that we have to find items under market locally and sell them to a worldwide audience at a markup, this may not be feasible forever. In the United States, if they bump the prices another 2 or 3 years, a lot of people will be priced out and they will be out of business because shipping will become too expensive. So in the United States, they raised shipping on January 20th, and they've also started raising shipping during the holidays. So we get two bumps every single year. In 3 or 4 years, a lot of people are going to be priced out. And a lot of people, if they don't, you know, fix that problem today, because we know it's coming. Like, just like we know Christmas is coming, we know these price hikes are coming. So we need to get started on these things today, on how can we fix these problems inside of our business, that if in 2 or 3 more cycles of postage hikes, that's going to put me out of business because my margins aren't there and they're not sustainable enough for me to still make money. So since we do have 2, 3, or 4 years before these price hikes come, because they will come, the post office isn't going to come out and say, hey, I have great news for you, we're going to lower the price. Nobody does that. The thrift isn't going to say, I have great news, we're lowering the prices. That doesn't happen. And I believe this year there will be a tremendous price increase just due to everything that's going on. So, you need to figure out what you need to do in order to stay in business. And there's only two ways to make more money. One is to sell more items. Two is to lower your costs. But to lower your costs, if you work for me and I say, hey, I'm getting squeezed over here, I know I pay you $20 an hour, but I need to pay you $12 an hour. That doesn't slide very well. No one's going for that. I can't lower my cost on labor. I can't go to my warehouse owner and say, hey, I'm getting squeezed because eBay raised their fee. Do you mind if I pay you half? That's not going to work over there either. You can't negotiate at the gas pump. You can't negotiate, with the bills that come in the mail. You can, however, negotiate when you buy stock at a higher rate. So since when I used to go to the thrift store and my listing goal was 120 per day, my average cost of goods was between $7 and $8, always between 7 and 8. Now that I buy more stock, my average cost of goods is $4 because I'm buying more. Economies at scale. When you buy more, you have the leverage and the negotiating power to bring your costs down. So my costs have come down for cost of goods, which is one of the biggest costs that come into running an eBay business is cost of goods. And I'm also selling more items. So I'm hitting it from both sides of the spectrum in terms of how do you make more money. I've brought down my cost for cost of goods and I've sold more items. And if you don't want to sell more items, you will not make more money. If you don't want to try to find a way how to lower your cost of goods, essentially, you may be out of business coming up here in the next couple of years.
So you talk about listing 120 a day, or, I think you even list 250 a day now. What is the mindset around listing a certain amount, the same amount every single day? Because there's a lot of resellers who 10 this day, 30 the next day, none the next day, 20 again, and it's like all up and down. What's the mindset between doing exactly the same amount of listing every single day?
It's like we talked about a few minutes ago. It's just based on the processes. And listing 30, listing 10, missing a day, there is no process in that. That's more hobby. That's more I do what I feel like doing on that particular day. But if you stay consistent and you have the discipline to list the same amount every single day, then you can learn, how long does this actually take me? And once you do establish that baseline of how long this takes you, then you can use, some of the tools that we talk about in the group all the time. And you can actually, audit your time. I list 20 a day every single day. It takes me this long to photograph, takes me this long to ship, takes me this long to list, takes me this long to source, takes me this long for my bookkeeping. Then you can, take an individual audit of all the processes, and whatever process is taking you the longest, that's where you could put your focus towards, and then you can make improvements. So, if the listing process is taking you the longest, okay, why is listing taking us the longest? Oh, because I research every single item. Okay, we need to figure out how can we gain the knowledge so we don't have to research every single item that we sell. Or why are we picking up a bunch of different stuff that we have, no understanding of, instead of concentrating on picking up these items that continuously sell for us over and over again, the bread and butter items that don't require such research, or you say, okay, photography is my bottleneck. It's taken me a long time. Why is photography your bottleneck and taking you a long time? Maybe you don't have a dedicated setup. Maybe, every single day you have to fix your lighting. Maybe your photo transferring from your iPhone to your computer is a pain. But, you can't take that time audit if there is no consistency and there is no listing goal. You cannot time audit 7 today, 30 tomorrow. There's nothing there to look at. There's no data to look at. And you also can't focus on all of the processes: shipping, listing, photo, sourcing. You can't focus on all of those and make an improvement on every single one of them at the same time. You need to focus on one piece of the puzzle, work as best as you can to make those improvements, and then do another time audit. And once, let's say photo does not take the longest time, and let's say now sourcing takes the longest time, now that's our bottleneck. We need to look at ways on how to improve that. But without being consistent on a daily basis, there is no way that you can make any sort of improvements, because listing 70 and listing 30, there's nothing to improve on. You just wake up and do what you feel like that day.
That's so good. A lot of resellers, they like to shop more than they like to list. So like this often leads to them having these massive piles of unlisted inventory. But you're very much the opposite of that. You have like a real minimal approach. You only keep a few days of excess stock. How much like unlisted stock exactly do you carry, and what do you think the downfalls are of having too much? Because I know that I get totally overwhelmed if I have too much unlisted inventory in my room, which then like hinders my productivity.
Sure, yeah, and it is overwhelming to have that much stuff inside of your workspace. So, prior to having employees, my back stock wasn't as aggressive. I like to keep, 7 to 10 days prior to employees. But once I started hiring, you do take on that responsibility, because, you are responsible for them paying their bills, for them paying their house, for them paying, for everything that they need and what their kids need. So, you do have that responsibility as a business owner. And, when COVID came, all the stores around me shut down for 3 months. I had to have enough inventory on hand where if the stores didn't open up for 3 months, everyone was secure and everybody had a job. So as I've taken on more employees, my backstock has got, more aggressive, just because I do have that responsibility as a business owner. And that's something that, everybody should think about before they make their first hire, is that you are responsible for paying the person that works for you. And in reality, you work for those people. Those people don't work for you. And if they get a paycheck and you don't, that's part of running a business. So, having an aggressive backstock when you do have employees is one thing, but having like a big death pile and, having hundreds or thousands of items in a death pile, when you list 10 or 20 per day and you have months worth of unlisted inventory, that does not do justice to your business, and that's crippling to your business. And ultimately that's what puts most people out of business, because it messes up your cash flow. It's very difficult to, source 50 items a day and list 10 per day, because you have that, net 40 that never sees the light of day of being listed on eBay, but you've sunk money into those items. So if on the low end, your average cost of goods is $5, every single day, your net 40 items that never get listed, that's $200 a day. That's $1,400 a week. And most likely, someone who lists 10 a day is spending more money on unlisted inventory than they get to pay themselves. And how long does that go on before you run yourself out of business? So, when I was first starting off, my listing goal wasn't as aggressive, let's say 20 or 30 or 50 per day. There was nothing more exciting than going to the thrift store, finding stuff, getting everything listed, and then having stuff sell that you just found at the thrift store a couple minutes ago.
Mm.
And that was the best thing in the world for me. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen with every single item you do sell. But if you do list 20 items, one of those items will sell today. And that was the greatest thing in the world to me back then. And it still is today. So, having a death pile, having that money locked over there, having that capital not actively working for you, going out there, multiplying, coming back, and then buying more items so you can grow your business, take care of yourself, make improvements in your own life. You're really doing a disservice to yourself because it's just dead money sitting over there. And I don't know about you, but I don't think anyone has ever knocked on your book hut that you have going on over there and said, "Hey, Mel, I would like to purchase from your unlisted inventory."
No,
That's never happened. And
no.
until someone knocks on your door and tries to buy from your unlisted inventory, unlisting inventory does nothing for you.
So I'm sure there's plenty of resellers sitting out here thinking, that's me, I've got the big death pile. So what would your advice be to those people? Like, is it just simply stop sourcing now and just list, list, list? What would be your best tip for those people?
Yeah, you have to stop sourcing and you have to actually, get to work, photograph those items, list those items, and put them away. A lot of people, you know, may be addicted to the hunt and not as addicted to listing on eBay or shipping out items or customer service. But you really need to change the mentality, and you have to learn to love listing on eBay. You have to learn to love the processes, and you have to learn to love the work. The alternative to that is sourcing yourself out of business and going back to get a 9 to 5 job, which most of us chose this opportunity to get out of the 9 to 5 job. But once we're in this opportunity, that we're so lucky to have, we don't put the same 9 to 5 effort into doing this. But if you put in full-time effort, you will get full-time results on eBay. But if there is no way that you can expect to put part-time effort or part-time time and expect full-time results. So a lot of people, they ask and say, "Hey, I'm ready to go full-time. What piece of advice can you give me?" And I always tell them, if you work full-time for your regular job, you should be able to work full-time for yourself, because if you don't, you will be back at a regular job. And if you don't want to be back at a regular job, then you have to have the discipline to put the time in so you can actually have something and build something for yourself rather than building something for somebody else. So if you have an enormous amount of backstock, wake up in the morning, have the discipline to get to work, to get that stuff listed. And the faster you get it listed, the faster you can go back out there and source again. But you can't keep going out and sourcing when you have so much dead money in the corner, not actively inside of your business producing more money.
Why do you think people aren't obsessed with actual listing? Like it's the one thing in the business that brings them the extra money. Everybody loves it when we get a sale. We see that sale, we get excited. Yet for some reason, we're not excited about the task to actually make that money. What is it about that, do you think?
Probably because it's mundane. It's not the most exciting thing in the world, but you'll talk to a lot of people, and I've never heard anybody say, "I'm not consistent on my shipping goals." We all
Mhm.
ship our items out. Like, everyone is consistent on the shopping goals. No one ever comes and goes, "Hey, I have a big problem." I go, "What is that?" They go, "I'm not consistent with my sourcing." I've never heard anybody say that before, but a lot of people struggle on the listing.
Yeah.
The listing, it's not the most exciting thing in the world. It's mundane, it's boring at times, especially if you're listing the same items over and over again, but it's part of the process. And if you expect to get paid, you have to sit down and you have to list your items. There is no other way around it. And a lot of people try to outsource that to these programs or go to a VA. And if that's what you want to do, no problem. But there is no substitute for sitting down, becoming an expert, and actually getting your items up listed to the best of your ability, making quality listings, and utilizing all the tools that eBay has available for you.
Mm. So does your day always go to plan every single day?
No, never.
Never. Even
Never.
with all your systems in place, it's still, still got its hiccups.
It still has its hiccups, but the systems that are in place are us hitting our listing goal at a cruising pace. There is no sprinting. We're not redlining. We're not racing around the track. 250 listings every single day is us moving at a very comfortable pace. There's times where people don't show up. They call out sick or their kids get sick. There's times where the internet goes out. There's a lot of things that go wrong, but if you do have that draft bank, that's the safety net where you will never, ever miss a day. And, for us, we do 7 days worth of work in 5 days because, they have the weekends off, and that way I can launch the drafts on the weekends. But, we always have a good little draft bank where if something does go sideways, I have that safety net so I can be consistent. But in order to have that safety net, you have to put that work in on the front end. But nothing goes according to plan. Today, in the middle of the day, I had to stop what I was doing and I had to bring something to the brick and mortar store. In the middle of the day, I just had to stop. Sometimes I have to stop because a machine broke down, or I have to stop, to do a bunch of different things, just like we all have to do. If you're a parent, you have kids, you have to stop when your kid gets sick at school. But at the end of the day, the result has to be the same. And if you can set up your life and set up your principles and have pride in what you do, at the end of the day, if the result is the same, then that's mission accomplished. But a lot of people, they wake up and if it's raining, they'll say they'll just do it tomorrow. But if you
Mm.
have pride in what you're doing, the result must be the same every single day. It doesn't matter if it's raining. It doesn't matter if you had a horrible day. It doesn't even matter if you felt like doing this today. There's a lot of times over the last 15 years that I didn't feel like doing what I did on a daily basis, but I have pride in what I'm doing. My name is attached to the eBay account. I'm known throughout everywhere as Tech and Sports, and everybody knows I list 250 items a day, no matter what. I have pride in what I'm doing. If I don't feel like doing it, I still have enough pride where I will still get it done because that's my identity and that's who I am. It's a very strong foundation that all of the businesses are built on. If you have a strong foundation, it's very difficult to get shook loose. So, a lot of people, you need to find the pride. You need to develop, a sense of what you're proud of inside of your business. And if you have pride and if you're proud of your business, it's easy to operate at a high level, because if you're prideful, you're not going to do something halfway or mediocre. You're going to do things to the best of your ability.
Mm. So besides you hitting your daily listing goal every single day, what else is your non-negotiable?
Everything is non-negotiable. As you said earlier, it's black and white with me. I wake up in the morning, everything that has to be done will get done before I go to sleep, even if I have to sacrifice sleep. So let's say everything went crazy and it's 5:30 right now and I only have 20 listings up. It does not matter. The result will be the same. I will stay up as long as I have to. I will stay up all night and make sure that my listings get up 250. There will never be a day where I do not hit my listing goal. Even if I get hit by a bus, I have 250 in the draft bank. We're getting 250 up today. It doesn't matter. So every single thing inside of the business is non-negotiable. Even me coming on this podcast at 4, it's non-negotiable. I'm going to be here. There is nothing that will happen where if I tell someone I'm going to do something that I will not do it. I have every single day on a daily basis thousands of customers. eBay, whatnot, the brick and mortar store, the lawn, the trees. I have thousands and thousands of people that I have to wake up and be accountable to. Over 2,000 people in the group. I have to make on a daily basis 5,000 people happy, and that's probably being conservative. When you have that, standard that you have to live up to, it's very, very easy to make sure that everything is done to the best of your ability and there is no shortcuts because your name is on it. If I totally blow off the group of 2,000 people, that's my name attached to it. That
Mm.
stays with you forever. But if I'm always there, if I'm always on time, if I'm upstanding, lead by example, that kind of stuff has a ripple effect and it can bring everybody up as well. So, all of these businesses that I run, try to lead by example. And when you lead by example, when you're not afraid to get dirty, when you're not afraid to do the same thing that you're asking people to do, it's very, very easy to get everybody's respect and get everybody on the same page. And when everybody is on the same page and we all have the understanding that we have to make thousands of people happy every single day, it's very easy to make sure that you get the job done because you don't want to let thousands of people down.
Mm. So your reselling group that you have that like I'm a part of, so I know what it's like. But like how would you say that this reselling group is for all levels of resellers? Is it for brand new resellers as well, or is it for people who have already had their store for a little while? They know a little bit about what they're doing and now they're really trying to improve their business.
It's for everybody. We have everything for everyone. We have all the calls for all the niche. And, I think that, again, by striving to have something that is the best, everything else will take care of itself. And I truly believe that it's the best place for to learn how to resell, for training on how to resell, to learn how to run a reselling business online. And there is no place on the internet with any more information, any more documentation than what we all have grown. And you have the Australia call going, which is very cool. And I heard you guys had a great time last week. So it's just only getting better and only doing better. But it's just a beautiful place where you know people can see other people doing it. People can see other people, actually finding the success that they want. And, when you do surround yourself with people like that and see that it is possible, um, you know, anything can happen. And I know you go on the media call a lot. There's guys in there with huge Amazon businesses, huge book businesses, and I'm sure that's been very inspiring to you as well. So,
Mhm.
you just have to expose yourself to that other stuff, because without that, you really don't know the possibilities um, that can happen within this business. So, I think it's a beautiful thing, and I'm very thankful for everybody involved. And I love spending time in the calls. I love helping as many people as possible, because eBay has really changed my life and my family's life. And without this, I really don't know where we would be or what we would be up to. Because as I said, like, I didn't go to college. I don't have any special tasks. There is no special talent aside from, showing up every single day and make sure that I get it done. And just by doing that, I've been able to deploy this money that eBay has given into other streams of income, other businesses, and other things that have really set me and my family up to live a very good life, where if I didn't have this opportunity, it would be a very, very different story.
Mm. Is it the money that drives you always? Or is that like the ultimate goal? Or
No, the money means nothing. So I think as a human being today, and this, if I had Lamborghinis and if I had private jets, I'd probably have 1 million followers on Instagram and there would be 1 million people in the Facebook group. I don't have that. I woke up today, and as a human being, I will probably spend $8 today. I'm going to eat a can of soup for lunch, and I'm going to have a salad for dinner. And that's it for the end of the day. It's $8. Money is never the motivation. It's always being the best. I want to be the best at every single thing that I do. And by being the best, money is always a byproduct of being the best. So
Mhm.
if you are money driven, if you are money focused, money comes, money goes. Money is easy to lose if you are money motivated. But if you are the best, and if you strive to be the best, and if you wake up every single day with one goal in mind, just to be the best that you could be, by being the best, money is a byproduct. By me having the best eBay store of pre-owned men's clothing, by being number one in the shirts, hats, jackets, sweaters, every category that I sell in, by being the best on eBay, money is a byproduct. And
Mm.
my only focus every single day is being the best and winning. That's all that
Mm.
matters to me. It's not the money. I don't care about the money. It's being the best and winning. And if you're the best and if you win, the money will come on its own.
That's where people sometimes go down for, when they're so focused on that money mindset only, that there's
Totally.
no real why to get them to go and do anything, is there?
Totally. And, I want to win at everything. It doesn't matter what it is. The only thing I want is to win. Even when we close the Zoom call, I try to be the first one back in. And I want to win at everything. I want to win at eBay. I want to win in real estate. I want to have the best brick and mortar store. I want to have the best whatnot. I want to have the best of everything. I there If I invited you over my house and said, "Hey, we're going to have a mediocre dinner tonight," that's not so great. If I invited you over and said, "Hey, we're going to have the best dinner you've ever had," you'd be ready to go.
Yeah.
So to strive for mediocrity or to strive for anything other than the best is such a foreign concept to me, because the only thing I'm focused on is just winning and being the best. Everything else comes easy after that.
Mm.
Hitting the listing goal is a hurdle for a lot of people, but if you do the best you possibly can and you focus on doing the best you possibly can, the listing goal is no longer the hurdle. When my feet hit the floor, my mission is to be the best. And I know at my best, I'm getting up 250 listings. I'm selling 250 items or more on eBay. Everything else takes care of himself. Best dad, best husband, best everything that I could be. And if you strive to be the best, everything else is easy after that. Everything else takes care of itself. Everything else takes, falls into place. And if you really want the money, just be the best. Just be the
Mm.
best and the money comes.
Wow. So good. Do you have a favorite book or a favorite podcast? Because I feel like you probably listen to audiobooks or podcasts or something while you're working, do you?
Nope.
No. What do you listen to?
No.
Silence.
Um, I listen to some podcasts, but like I don't there is like there's not a lot of inspiration, there's not a lot of things like that. It's just, I might be very old fashioned. I just, get up, go to work, do what I got to do, make sure everything is done and go back to sleep. Like I think probably the last book that I ever read was definitely in school. I'm not a big book reader, not a big podcast person. I listen to a lot of real estate stuff all day. I listen to some music all day, but there isn't one book or something like that where I can point to and say, like that really gets me going, or that was my inspiration, or that's where things change. It's just, how I'm wired is just, wake up, get everything done, and do it again tomorrow. There is no requirement of a day off. There is no anything. This is what I enjoy to do. Some people like to golf. Some people like to drive cars. Some people like to do a lot of stuff. I like to wake up and run my businesses. And this is what I like to do. And, I was talking with some people this weekend and they were saying like, why on the weekends do you go over there and ship if everything isn't, or if everything's not done shipped? And, I related to people like to go golf on the weekends and that's what they like to do. Why would I hire somebody to putt for me?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I like to do. I'm
Yeah.
not going to hire someone to putt.
Yeah.
I like to do this. I like to list. I like to run my businesses. I like to look at real estate. I like to run my store. This is what I enjoy to do. It doesn't take there is nothing there are no requirements for me to do this. This is what I enjoy to do. And if you enjoy to golf, you're not going to hire out somebody to putt the ball.
Mm.
You're going to putt. So, you have to love what you do. And fortunately for me, running businesses, building businesses, being involved in this stuff every single day is what I love to do. That's just the way that my brain is wired. I could easily be wired into being obsessive and going in a different direction that isn't positive. But, fortunately for me, just, putting my efforts towards, building stuff in a positive manner is really what I enjoy to do every single day. And, I'm going to keep hitting the ball. I'm going to keep putting and that's what I'm going to do. And that's what I enjoy to do. That's what I love to do.
Oh, such good self-motivation, and you just self-motivated. You're a self-motivated person that
Right.
thrives off that.
Like if you love golf, no one has to force you to go golf today. You're just going to go do it.
Yep.
Like for you guys, if you love rugby, you're just going to go rugby. If you love cricket, you're going to go play cricket.
Yep.
No one has to force you.
Yep.
I love business. I don't have to be forced to do this.
Yeah. Amazing. I'll end it there because we've been going for a while and I'm conscious of your time, but thank you so much for coming on here and being interviewed. And before we go, where can people find you? Like if they want, I know you don't do YouTube, but you're on Instagram.
Yeah, I might post about once every 8 months on Instagram. Not a real big Instagram person, not a real big YouTube person. Not really here to plug any social media or do anything. I just want people, to really understand the opportunity that they've been given. And, this opportunity may not be here forever. So we all have to take the time to do the best that we absolutely can and, get it while we can, because tomorrow is not given. We could be banned from any platform at any time. And we have to do the best to our ability every single day until they ring our bell. And when we ring our bell, hopefully we can turn around. We lived a successful life. We lived a life that we were proud of. And, I just hope somebody somewhere, even if it's one person, can, take a piece from this conversation and help their business, help their eBay store, and then, have a little bit of a better life. Then that's mission accomplished. So, I do appreciate you asking me to be on here. I don't get many requests, if any. So, very honored by being here with you, and, you're the best. And I appreciate everything that I've learned from you and everything that we've talked about inside the group.
Well, thank you. I will make sure that I link the group down below if anybody is interested in finding out more details about that, where you do get much more access to all of Tech's, knowledge, and he is a wealth of knowledge. So if anybody else wants to become part of that and part of that group, there's just such a strong mindset. And for me, I find the group, it helps hold me accountable. Like, it makes me feel like I've got work colleagues who want the same things. So I feel accountable to everyone in the group. Like, I've got to do my listings because Tech's counting on me, even if you're not. Do you know what I mean? But like, I feel like if I've invested money into being in this group, like, and I've got you guys there giving me all this information, I would be so crazy not to listen to it and follow along with it and take that on board. So, I'm absolutely soaking it in like a sponge, every little thing that I can. And I thoroughly enjoy it. It's been the best thing that I've done for my reselling business, the best thing I've invested in for my reselling business and invested in myself. So thank you.
No, thank you. I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, Tech. Now, if you've got all the way to the end of this podcast, I can't thank you enough for listening to it all the way through. I hope you've got some value from this and you've learned a lot from a man who just has so much experience and so much to give and teach everybody else. Thank you so much. Please make sure you hit the like button. Leave us a comment down below. Let us know what was the most valuable thing that you've got from this podcast. Thanks again. See ya.